I can hear you now.
Yeah, there you go. And I can hear you.
Woo!
Yay! We're back in the mix, my boy.
Yes, that's bad. Oh, but it's always like, it's so weird. Computers are so fucking weird, but like the troubleshooting sometimes it's just like, I've had, yeah.
And this was literally like, I just had to unplug the microphone and then suddenly it started working again. So like,
But
yeah,
yeah, I literally had the same.
Fucking temperamental, bro.
Yeah. I literally had the same thing. Like I've been trying to use WhatsApp on my computer because my phone is buggered, right? So I've been trying to talk to people like and video call and stuff. And it's like WhatsApp, something else is using your video. I'm like, no, fuck, it's not. I promise you. And then it was unplug, plug in. It works perfectly. Oh, bad.
Yeah. Well, there we go. What we learn, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
When in doubt, turn it off and turn it back on, bro.
But no joke, no word of a lie. When I was working in the banks, right? Literally, you'd call, like sometimes when you'd have like IT issues, you'd call up the help desk and you'd go, listen, I got this and this problem. They go, okay, cool. Have you turned off your computer and restarted it? And you'd be like if you knew that that's what they were going to say, like because they always said you'd be like, yeah, okay, I've tried that. But literally they were like 90% of the time, that is what needs to happen. It's just so crazy, but so you got your flipping Hawaiian style t-shirt on there, brother. What's happening? Yes,
brother. I'm technically on vacation. So I'm like, you know what? Today I'm going to freaking island style Miami it up. But I feel like Magnum PI back in the mix here, but
yes, you should have flipping told me, but I feel like underdressed now. Like, I'm not bringing the right energy, like
not bringing
Hawaiian
the right
energy. Classic. I'm good, man. How about you?
Yeah, good. Much better than I was yesterday. But yesterday when I spoke to you for that moment, I was having a bout of fucking heavy anxiety. But I think it was just like a rush of lots of stuff coming at me at once. And, when your system feels off balance, but when you feel that like that, I don't know if you ever get anxiety or you did when you were in the banking system, bro, but it's a fucking horrible feeling.
Yeah. I don't know if I've really, I think I've had like sort of like lower levels of it, maybe, like just worrying about shit and you're like, fuck. And it's like, it's not a nice feeling, eh?
Yeah, and it's in your body more than your mind, although you know that it's triggered by your mind, right? So it's not like your mind is necessarily like grappling with a million things, but it's like subliminal, and then it triggers this feeling, like this chemistry in your body, and it sits here by your diaphragm. And for me, it affects my breathing. So like I start breathing very shallow, and it feels like there's just it's like this very uncomfortable fucking, you feel like you need to just breathe deep and try to release some energy here. And, yesterday I said to you, I felt like this is how I felt like when I was back in South Africa before I had that like mini nervous breakdown. And so fuck it brings back a lot of emotion and memories from that time as well, because everything is linked to a moment in time in your life with those, with those emotions and all the things that happened. So when you start to feel it again in the present, it fucking draws back from the past, all of that shit, bro. And so this is the balance of the mind. And now I understand why people really struggle, right? And that's why the solution always is to stay in the present moment and don't allow your mind to go back or forward, creating dramas or reliving dramas that actually are not happening, but affect your present as if they were happening. And fuck. And if you're not aware of that is actually what is happening, then I can see why people lose control of themselves, but because they don't understand really where it's coming from or how it's happening. So they just suffer now massively.
Yeah. And like you said, there's in spiral sort of just downwards. Do you know what I mean? It's interesting that you say that, because like, I guess you almost need tools, to sort of help you in situations like that. And, like you said, yours is like, okay, cool. Don't panic, watch your breathing, like stay in the present moment. Don't think about these things, because I sent you that podcast, this last week, which was honestly one of the best podcasts I've listened to, like literally one of the best podcasts I've listened to. And like everything is like the situation you're in, whatever. And like, you know, so I just found it was like maybe it was the timing of it, but it was a guy called Sean. Oh my God, I've just forgotten his surname. Anyway, I'll think of his surname, but it's with a guy. So Sean, someone is the host, and James Nestor is the guest. And the James Nestor has written a book called Breathe. Yeah, see, but just talking about breathing and like how, you know, powerful it is. I mean, we already know this, but just having someone that's like actually spent years studying it, and then just telling you about the certain things about breathing, like how our mouths have changed and how we've evolved over time through breathing a certain way. And like, just like, it was literally one of the most fascinating podcasts I've listened to, and like just such a good reminder to bring everything back to your breathing and how much you can actually control, like in terms of how you're feeling, you know, your levels of anxiety, everything, you know, like just through your breathing. It was really just such a fascinating podcast to listen to, Bud, you know. And like some of the things he was there, Sean, what's his name?
The Model Health Show.
Yeah.
James Nestor. I don't know who the actual host is. I started watching in Asheville, but I only got through the first 5 minutes. I need to just give it some time today.
Yeah.
And what was he saying about specifically like mouth breathing versus nose breathing?
Well, I mean, he just said nose breathe, like you can actually just do it, right? Like as an exercise, like you literally notice when you're listening to the podcast, you like, because you automatically, or I did it, just start breathing through my nose, and just the way you breathe actually changes, you know. So if you breathe through your mouth, which most of us just do, like you know, it's a very shallow breath. And it's also like a chest breath, almost like you're almost breathing from your chest, you know, you're not actually using your stomach. So when you close your mouth and you breathe through your nose, you'll notice like you actually, your stomach, when you breathe in, like actually expands, you know, and that's how you should be breathing. And also what you're doing is when you breathe just through your nose, automatically your tongue goes to the top of your mouth, right? And that helps like open up everything, and also like, you know, make sure there's more places that the oxygen can get taken in through your whole kind of like sort of what's the system of breathing, your respiratory system. But there was just so much stuff. And then he just talks about how like the human mouth has just got smaller over time, how our teeth have become like skew because our breathing has become worse. And it's impacted the size of our mouths. He's like, if you go back and you look at old human skulls, like our mouths were bigger. And they didn't really have like the issues we have now with like skew teeth and that. This is like an evolutionary thing because of our breathing. And there was just so much stuff in there, you know. It wasn't just about breathing. He was actually explaining things, and you're like, holy fuck, that is interesting, you know, like, and it was, but it was a really, really good podcast. So yeah, just like, you know, you have so much control, like within you, just to, in terms of how you feel like through your breathing, but you know, and he speaks about how we actually breathe too much as well. He said like, not all the time, I guess, but like we should try and do exercises where we breathe 6 times a minute. That's where you can get like the most amount of oxygen into your system. And then he also talks about things like the out breath, and like we don't necessarily breathe out enough to kind of replace the O2 and the CO2, and it's just like, honestly, it's like one you can sit down and just take tons and tons of notes, you know. So
it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about that breath workshop I went to last weekend?
I think you briefly touched on it, yeah.
Right, fascinating, right? So a couple of things that just to sort of piggyback onto what you're saying. One of the other fascinating things about breathing in through your nose is it actually triggers the release of nitric oxide. And
that's exactly what he speaks about. Exactly. Yeah.
Which then is the compound that actually opens your epithelial cells in your capillaries and your veins to open up to get more blood flow in, right? So yeah, if you breathe through your mouth the whole time, then you actually stay with these little constricted capillaries and arteries and what have you. So the breathing through the nose is very important, especially during exercise, right? Or just general, because otherwise you want to try and transport as much oxygen as possible through your body at all times. And then so I go to this thing called, it was called frequency, which was a breathing and sound. They called it an involution, which is a evolution of the inside, right? Your spiritual body self. And man, it was, Gareth, probably the most incredible experience I've ever had without drugs.
Wow.
And so like no psychedelics, and just the breathing. But he took us through 5 different types of breathing exercises. We did a two-phase breathing to start, which was like 6 seconds in, hold 6 seconds out, slow. Then it was Wim Hof for 15 minutes. Then we did the CO2 cleansing breathing, which is exhaling more than you inhale, for 15 minutes. Then it was that holotropic breathing that I know that you've experimented with. And there was one other one, but mate, I tell you that by the end of an hour, then it was with all this like music and tribal, like trance, live percussion, and them also leading you through mindfulness throughout the whole thing. So they had the guy and the girl sort of bouncing between each other, like leading us. So you're on the floor and you got your eye pillow on, and you're just following the breathing techniques the whole way through. You go into like a complete trance state. So an hour feels like it just went like this, but man, the feeling in the body was unlike anything I've ever experienced, but where every single cell of your body is like literally just vibrating on such a level, and you could almost feel the vibration of your body lift outside of your body, so you felt like you expanded. And on the last one, where he just really gets you just to breathe, continue. And even moments, you hit moments where you're like, God, I can't do this anymore. He's like, that's the moment where you just force yourself through. And then you go into like another level. And then at the end, you contract. So you literally fold yourself in half like this, feet up off the ground in your body, and you squeeze every muscle in your body. You hold, and it's like your third eye just explodes. And you go into a psychedelic realm, promise you, like as if you're just smoking DMT, bud. And then he goes, relax. And as you relax, he turns all the music off and it just goes quiet. And you just hear everybody on the floor like this. And then it just feels like you melt into the floor. It was fucking wild there.
Yeah, see, bud. Yeah. Yes, those classes are flipping next level, and it reminds me, we did a couple of things like that when we were in Bali, like same sort of thing. Like one was a breathing one, and one was like a sort of a movement one, but with like certain type of music that like the beat changed the whole time, but you had to really focus on it. And it was like, it just like kind of took you through this, this sort of experience. And isn't it amazing? Like literally this stuff, you don't have to, like, it's so simple in many ways, and it's like so healing, but also just like experiential, but in like a very positive, energetic way. And we could just all do that from the comfort of our own homes if we wanted to, if we knew how to, sort of thing. And we don't need all this other shit, like, you know what I mean? And it's so powerful, but also having that group of people doing it together is even more powerful. That's what really makes it, because you collectively, you're all generating and feeling this at the same time. And it's but I mean, even just listening to you explain it, I was like, oh shit, I want to do those.
To do it. Yeah.
Those, yeah.
And no jokes, there was about 100 people in this room, right? And we're in this massive circle. And then at one stage, he gets you to reach out and grab the hands of the people next to you. And you're like all doing the work, and it's work, right? And you start sweating, and then what you start to feel is all this emotional release. So you're like, you're breathing in, and then you're like, and people start crying, and people start shouting, and people start laughing. And so it's like this pure movement of release of whatever is trapped inside the body. And that's the medicine, bro. So it was, fuck, man. and like you say, it's something that we could all do. And then it's like, okay, it's been 2 weeks since I did it, and I probably only done the exercise for myself like twice. So why don't we do it every day? Because it's work, right?
Yeah. It's so fascinating. Hey, I don't know about you, but like I find like I am lazy when it comes to just myself, right? If it was just me, I'm like, okay, cool, I don't really have to do this. But if there's other people involved, like I have to, like there's someone say relying on me to be there, or just there's other people that are going to be there, and whatever, like that gets me to do things. Do you know what I mean? And like I think I'm like a self-motivated person generally, but I'm also lazy when it comes to just myself. Do you know what I mean? But when it comes to other people, like, but if you and I lived in the same place and we were like gymming, say first thing in the morning, 5 a.m. every morning, it would take, I don't know, a flipping earthquake for me to not arrive, because I mean, like, yes, I'm going to be letting Ryan down. I don't want to be letting him down. But if it's just me, I'm like, no, it's okay. It's so weird. Hey,
I'm going to sleep in today.
Yeah. It's so, I mean, I noticed this about myself, like that I don't mind like not doing something if it's just me, but if it's me and somebody else, I'm like, there's no ways I'm going to not be here. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know.
That goes back to this thing. I think it really is. It would be better for all of us to be in like, to create our little villages, of like-minded people that, we get to support each other and motivate each other, and, make sure that we show up for each other. And that's why, tapping into community is so important, and not to just be isolated, because I think a lot of people feel the same way that probably you and I do when we by ourselves, that we don't, perform maybe at the same level as we would if we did with each other.
Yeah. That's definitely it, definitely it. Like, like I think we're both still pretty efficient and motivated people, like by ourselves, but like when we're with others, it's just that much more, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So anyway, but that's me, maybe not you, but me, definitely. I noticed that. Yeah, we definitely need communities, and we definitely need each other, but that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And what else is going on there, bud? Like, you going to take a break the next couple of days?
Yes, but taking a break is very, it's almost impossible, bro. Like if I look, I've received like 5 phone calls already from different managers today. I've got my liaison here from Disney messaging me now saying, hey, can we chat? I need to talk to you about something. It's like, so yeah, I call it a semi break, but I'm going to have to do some graft and make sure people have direction this morning. And then I'll tap off and relax and do something in the afternoon. And then tomorrow is, this weekend is what they call Labor Day weekend. It's a long weekend. Monday's off, so people start tapping off tomorrow. So I'll have some brain space and relax during this weekend. And then actually we booked this amazing event for Sunday. It's at an old orchard farm in a place called Homestead, and they've got like this natural lagoon there. And they're doing like cacao ceremonies. They've got like live music and a whole bunch of like ecstatic dance stuff going on. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's a whole day event on Sunday. So I'll use that as my opportunity to turn my phone off for the whole day and just get completely present with a bunch of cool people.
Yeah, it's amazing. Those things are so, like, I don't know, there's something so powerful about them. Like you say, like the ecstatic dance, and we've obviously spoken about the breathing and stuff. And isn't it amazing, like how we all have these things in our system, inside, like that are kind of blockages, and we might not notice them, but when you do the things like ecstatic dance or certain breathing or whatever it is, like you just get rid of these blockages, like in your body, and they then like open you up, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what that was, but I feel so good, and it's something that, I don't know, maybe it's here in your, in your tummy, or like, in your arm, or like your back or something. And like, all it takes is like you just to do certain things, and to get rid of these blockages that are inside, and they just make you feel so much better. Yeah, but it's, and it's also interesting though, because those things are like, like the ecstatic dance is like sort of embarrassing for some people as well. They're like, yes, I don't want to, this is kind of weird, you know. I don't really.
It's out there, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've never done it before and you see it for the first time, you're like, what is wrong with these people? But it's the most primal, natural thing for us all to do. Right? And I think, man, if everybody started, just fucking get rid of your preconceived notions or ideas about what is weird looking and what is not looking, and just actually feel yourself, you'll see that everybody's body wants to do that kind of stuff, you know. The wavy movements and the, you know, letting go, and it's actually just tapping into your body's intelligence. And instead of your mind trying to control how you look and what you do, it's like, okay, I'm now going to let my body tell me what it wants to do.
I like that, body intelligence. Hadn't really like thought about that. Is there anything else about body intelligence? I've never really thought about.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's for sure there's intelligence in every cell of our body, right? And there's an intelligence and an information stored in the water that comprises most of our body. And so there's emotional intelligence, there's mind intelligence, which is obviously learned. That's all the software that you've picked up over your lifetime. Then there's the body intelligence, and then there's the spiritual, the super conscious intelligence, which is, you know, the consciousness which actually has created us and driven and drives everything. And so we're able to tap into all of these different modes of intelligence. And if you can exercise all of them and be aware of which one is, you know, which one is useful in specific realms of your life, you can switch them on and off. But I think where most people get stuck is they get stuck in the mind intelligence, and they think that is everything. That, you know, they identify with the mind, and which is almost like your ego, right? It's like, oh, look how clever I am. Look how many books I've read. Look how much, you know, look how good I am at math, for example. Like, that's just all that intelligence. But then there's so much more beyond that, right? Because if you really listen to yourself, you know, your body intelligence, which probably comprises of your heart and your gut, that compass is always directing you, and it actually knows way beyond what your mind can see based on its previous experience.
Yes, it's so interesting when you think about it, because like you say, your mind intelligence, I guess, like IQ, you know, that has been like, say, such a focus, you know, and like people are like, I got a PhD and blah blah blah, but like, and then you look at like how we've neglected other parts of it, like I said, spiritual and maybe body and whatever intelligence, and like, and that's why we find ourselves in this weird state that we're in now, because we've neglected the other parts that are, you know, they're all probably just as important as each other. And now we're in this weird place in society where we have this massive imbalance of so many things, because we've neglected certain intelligences, you know, and the ones that we've neglected are, you know, super, super important in terms of how we kind of operate, you know, as a whole entity, like as a whole being ourselves, but then all together, you know, like we have very clever people, but we also have, you know, half of the world population that is flipping obese because we've neglected the body intelligence, and we've been eating crap for such a long time. And that completely outscales the how clever we are, you know what I mean? So we have to bring this all kind of back in many ways, and that's why maybe we're witnessing what we're witnessing now, you know, and we've just neglected so much of the overall intelligence. I hadn't really thought about that. It's really interesting. Something to probably end on for people to think about, all these different intelligences. Hey, thanks for that.
And go check it out. I mean, there's lots of people talking about this stuff now, and it makes so much sense, you know, when you hear about it. You're like, fuck, of course. Like, how to, you know, we've all sensed it, right? Like, our intelligence have communicated with us our whole lives, but we didn't realize where it was coming from or how to use it or tap into it. How's your meditation game going at the moment, bud?
Actually, we picked it up again the last few days. Actually, literally since listening to the podcast that I mentioned. The last 2 mornings we've just been sitting on we've got these beautiful dunes, so we just wake up and we literally just like go out the front door and take Bella with us, a little dog, and then take her for a bit of a walk. Then we go sit on the dunes and just do some sort of humming meditation. It's called Nada Brahma humming meditation. And it's so good. But even if you do it for like 10 minutes, like it's just like, man, it's good. Hey, like it's just so powerful. Yeah. How about yours?
Yeah, I've been I've like meditation has been such a fucking important thing for me, but to stay centered, especially during moments where you feel yourself getting a little bit off kilter. But every morning now I've actually started cracking onto it's a 30-day challenge with Bob Proctor. It's a 20-minute meditation, and he just really, he does such a beautiful job of explaining, the visualization component, and you feel this beautiful light coming through your body and the expansion and breaking out and sending out love and all this stuff. So it's been really cool. But the humming is interesting because that's been coming like sort of intuitively to me, like making and getting the vibrations moving through your body, which also helps to like release and move energy, which is super powerful.
Yeah. I mean,
what do they call it? Nada Brahma.
Nada Brahma. Yeah. When I was in India and I did the meditation teacher training, like the humming one was one of the main ones that we kind of learned, and for me, it personally, because it's very personal thing, like that's the one that I sort of felt myself enjoying the most and getting the most benefit from. And it's interesting because in that podcast, they both talk about it, the humming and like, certain things about it, but it's quite an ancient one. This is like the sort of Buddhas and stuff, are the guys that still to this day really focus on Nada Brahma. So yeah, bud. Yes, so good.
Power, man. And is it like a lead meditation, or is it just a technique that you use?
No, it's just a technique. I mean, you can lead it, but it's one you can really easily do yourself. You literally just you literally, so you sit down cross-legged and then you put your hands like this, right? In this kind of sort of shape, right? With your thumbs facing forward, or you can fold your thumbs if you want, but like that's sitting in your lap, like where your sort of your crotch or your groin is. Okay. And then you just close your eyes and you put your tongue at the top of your mouth and breathe in through your nose. And then you like, you hum, right? And your hum is generally pretty long, right? And it's almost like an out breath, the hum, it just happens naturally. And then you breathe in again, and you can probably hum, I don't know, but you can probably 30 seconds to a minute sort of thing, like just like that. And you almost, I mean, depends on how long you want to do it. Like when we were doing it in India, we were doing like hour-long sessions, and it's flipping crazy. But like you hum for 30 minutes, then you sit in silence for 30 minutes. But if you should do it like you should hum and be in silence for the same amount of time. So like you can do 5 minutes, and that's a session. So 10 minutes sort of thing. And then when you finish humming and you're sitting in silence, then you go into the, you're still cross-legged, but you put your hands like, like that, sort of on your knees, like the sort of, that sort of
meditative
sort of, yeah, exactly. So yeah, but it's it's flipping, it's really good. Yeah.
Power. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to give it a crack today for sure.
Yeah. Cool, brother. Well, thanks for the chat, man, as always.
Thank you, man. Cool. Yes, great. And have a wonderful weekend ahead, bud.
Yeah, you too. Love you, my boy.
Love you, Chan. Cheers, boy.
Cheers, buddy.